So Start Out sits close to my heart, and if you're not already a member, I encourage you to sign up. It is free. It's a non-profit organisation that was founded in 2009, and it's the largest national organisation to support the LGBTQ entrepreneurs, with around 17,000 members nationwide. Our mission is to increase the number and the diversity of LGBTQ entrepreneurs and amplify their stories to drive the economic empowerment in the community. And we also help entrepreneurs start new companies and support current entrepreneurs as they grow their expanding businesses through an online portal, targeted events, and also mentorship. For today's event, we've got some seasoned entrepreneurs and investors ready to judge and give feedback on the pitches of 3 early stage startups. And again, before we go any further, I'd like to say a big thank you to Lawrence Wang, Eric Park, and Alex Brightman, who sit on the programming board of Start Out in New York, for their contributions and actions in putting this event together. We have had a great number of startups apply for the event, and it was difficult to narrow it down to just the 3 companies presenting today. But we did select them on the stages that they're at. We were looking for early stage startups and the diverse industries that they come from, just to keep things interesting for the audience. Our judges, who can introduce themselves, today are Alison, Andrew Rays, Balaji Gopinath, Christina Goodless, and Natalie Egan. So I'd love it if Alison could just say a few words about herself.
Sure. Thank you so much, by the way, Pooja, for the invite, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the pitches. I earned my stripes in 5 different startups over about 23 years in my career, mostly in enterprise software, principally really spanning business intelligence and cybersecurity, although I had some dalliances here and there, including B2B commerce. Most recently made a transition over onto the venture capital side and helped co-found a fund called 1843 Capital, which is in its first fund. But I am also on my way back to an operating role. So you've caught me like right in the middle of a transition. Seems that the draw to get back into operating cannot be stopped.
Thank you. Balaji, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Like Alison, I'm a recovering entrepreneur. I've been in about 7 startups myself, a couple of good IPO exits, some acquisitions, some really miserable failures, and sucked up a lot of time and money. Made my way to the dark side of corporate VC as I angel invested along the side. And as I uncovered more opportunity being on the inside of a CVC, spun out more recently with a good friend of mine, started Kubera. And we invest in AI, machine learning, and data science primarily at its core, but across the B2B SaaS space. We largely focus on the flyover states in between the 2 coasts. 80% of our portfolio is in those underserved areas of entrepreneurship. And on the coast, we tend to co-invest with tier A VC firms we've built relationships with over the last 20 years. That's us.
Okay. That's great. Christina.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I am an entrepreneur and strategist, particularly interested in media. I'm the co-founder of Kit Split, which has been called the Airbnb of cameras by Forbes and Fast Company, and we're a community of 50,000 creatives sharing camera gear and knowledge. Before that, I got my start in journalism and helped start and run the video department at The New Yorker. And I still make short documentaries. And most recently, I'm doing a lot of consulting with early stage startups.
Great. And finally, Natalie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Egan. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And, I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Translator, where we build diversity and inclusion analytics software for corporations, schools, and nonprofits. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I've been trying to, help people and solve problems, and since I was about 5 years old. The joke is that I've started over 500 businesses. It's just most of them didn't have any customers at all, and And today, Translator is sort of my second major VC venture capital backed business. I ran a business prior to my transition that raised about $7 million in capital. It's a B2B enterprise HR tech business that went, it looked like a unicorn and then it came dropping down. And yeah, it's just a real honor and a privilege to be here today. When I first came out as trans, Start Out was the first sort of community that I got involved with and was instrumental in helping me build Translator. I actually did my first pitch as me in one of these practice sessions, and it was incredibly valuable, and I completely fell flat on my face. It was sort of a disaster for me internally, but since then we've gone on to raise $1.5 million, and we have we're on a tear right now, so it's just great to be here, and I'm happy to help any of you as much as I can. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So thank you for all coming. Appreciate it. The audience can also submit questions throughout, but the priority will be given to the panelists that we have here to grill the startups. So Oscar from Thimble, would you like to kick it off, please?
All right. Hi, everybody. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yep.
All right.
Done.
I'm just going to share my screen now. I have to warn you, I have 2 pit bulls with me, so if they bark for whatever reason, I apologize in advance. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
All right, so I'm just going to set my timer here so I don't go over time. All right, hello everyone. My name is Oscar Pedroso. I'm the founder and CEO of Thimble. We are your student robotics and coding club right from home. And we're based in New York. So essentially we're an online academy that teaches students in middle school and high school anything from game design, robotics, and computer science. And we do that through online courses, physically delivered kits, and then we also include live build-along classes so students can learn how to build their projects from start to finish. So 97% of schools are closed as a result of the pandemic, and there are about 20 million parents with kids between the ages of 6 and 17 years old who don't have the time, tools, or expertise to homeschool their kids. And this entire phenomenon has created a new shift in the market, a need for more remote learning tools. And at the same time, parents are scrambling to find meaningful activities, one, to keep their kids engaged and also keep them from falling behind as a result of all the school closures. So this is where Thimble comes in, and we've created this blended learning environment by offering virtual courses, kits, and then live coaching sessions to teach kids the necessary skills. And these are mostly related to engineering and computer science. Thimble can be used at home or school. Right now, we're just focused on parents at home with their kids. And really, our value here is active learning for higher student engagement and better learning outcomes. So the product is really a growing number of virtual courses that are offered on our learning portal. And these contain instructions, video tutorials, and lessons. Right now, we have about 15 courses. These are just some screenshots of our learning portal. So there's self-paced lessons, so students can learn at their own pace, step-by-step videos. There's also a Q&A forum. And then we try to maximize engagement by having quizzes, badges and rewards, and contests. These are some of the examples of some of the projects that the students would build. I apologize if the font is too small, but happy to read a couple at the top. We have an Intro to Engineering and Coding, which is the very first course that any subscriber takes when they're building a project. And then from there, they receive a project once a quarter. So they would receive parts to build a Wi-Fi remote control car, a video game controller, a Wi-Fi light switch. Each of these has a specific theme. So it could be smart home technology, it could be robotics. As you can see here, we have a music and synthesizer. So kids are learning to become their own DJs. where they can create their own sounds or just play standard sounds. Then there's the live build-along sessions that are taught by us and also what we call celebrity designers and programmers working at companies like Nintendo, Minecraft, Sega. These talks are a way for the professionals to share their career journey as well as any passion projects that they're working on. And this also is usually very exciting for the kids because usually they don't have that kind of exposure to these kind of professionals. So it's more of a way for us to add that extra engagement there for their learning. Our business model right now is focused on parents. So it's a monthly subscription. The first month that they sign up, they're paying $99. They get their very first kit that month. And then after that, they're just paying $29 a month. And that includes access to the classes and the kits that they'll receive once a quarter. I included pricing here for school districts because we recently just started receiving purchase orders from schools. It's not a fully fleshed out model yet, but right now we're charging $100 per kit. And then we're thinking for school districts that are looking for per student license, we're thinking about $6 per student per year. This is very early on, so we're just wanted to have that there because it's in the back of our minds. So we're focused on the e-learning market in the USA. I wanted to really just show how we're thinking about the market. On the left-hand side, we have parents. On the right-hand side, we have K-12 schools. We're really just focused on the parent market right now, and we're focused on those parents that have kids between the ages of 6 and 17. A lot of these parents are either stay-at-home or work-from-home moms that are looking for stimulating activities for their kids to do while they're outside of school, and also that are looking for alternatives for those looking for camps this summer. The competitive landscape, really we're like at the intersection of companies that are offering virtual content like a Udacity or Udemy, or a kit company like KiwiCo or Piper, and then live classes like Masterclass or OutSchool, which are super popular right now. Really, we're trying to offer all these things at once, specifically around robotics coding and video game design, and where we think our biggest advantage is not only in the expertise around these topics, but the curriculum roadmap. So it's not just a one and done kit, the live classes, because it's a personal touch, the celebrity Zoom bombing sessions, and then the contests as well, because that creates a lot of word of mouth. Our traction, so we launched our subscription business in April of 2020, although we have been in business for a few years. As we launched back in 2016 as part of a Kickstarter campaign. But currently we have 600 subscribers. We have about $18,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Our customer acquisition cost has fluctuated in the last few months, but right now it averages out at around $60. We haven't been in the market long enough to determine what our lifetime value is, but we think it's around $900, just based on what other kit subscription company lifetime value is like. We're at a churn we actually don't have that much churn yet. It's hovering right below 1%, but we do believe that'll increase over time. Our attendance rate for classes is over 95%, and that is a number that we really try to focus on as much as possible. Our team, so Joel and I have been working together before Thimble, actually. I've known him for about 8 years. He is an instructional designer, online teacher, and also computer scientist. My background's in higher education. I've been living and breathing education my whole life, and worked in higher ed and admissions, started my own tutoring business. And Joel and I met at the right time to start building Thimble. Our go-to-market right now, are just focused on parents, but there is a relationship between teachers and schools that help us get more subscribers. Parents, we're only focused on building a referral program and doing a lot of email marketing, but we have been able to get teachers to join some of our live classes, which has been a nice way to get some of their students on board while schools have been out. Schools, not so much, but we have ideas around how to do that through state vendor contracts, RFPs, and distribution, finding different distributors to help distribute our products. So the way we're thinking about growth right now, we're trying to get to about 2,300 subscribers by the end of the year. And we're looking at, a lot of these numbers are just based on customer acquisition and what it costs us to acquire a customer. So a lot of this depends on many variables, but this is just how we'd like to grow over the next few years. And I included schools in here because that is on the back burner, but it is a very important path for us to take down the line, because we are very much into making sure that everyone has access to this kind of education. Right now we're raising a $400,000 seed round, and it's really more to grow. We have about 50K in inventory right now, so we're in sales mode, especially now that we're in this middle of summer and parents are looking for things for their kids to do. And the holiday season is not that far away, so we want to be prepared to take advantage of these next 6 months to be able to reach our milestones. But happy to provide more details around this, and would happy to take any questions around what we're currently doing. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the time and open to feedback.
Thank you, Oscar. So judges, it's all yours.
Yeah, first of all, great job. I thought you presented the entire case well, and it couldn't be more pertinent given where we all are. I am a mom of a 7-year-old. I had my own challenges with him with distance learning. So if there are any other parents on here, I feel you. It's a tough one. And I'm really hoping that they go back in the fall. Having said that, a question for you that arose was the gap between, the 2020 launch versus the 2016 Kickstarter. Not to sort of nail you with like that one big question, but I did want to understand what happened in the intervening years, and why the 4-year gap.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for asking, because I very much think it's part of our story. When we launched our Kickstarter, we were focused on the consumer side for a little bit, and we quickly pivoted to selling to schools because we just thought there was a larger opportunity there. And we spent a good chunk of our time trying to sell to schools. The thing was, we weren't quite set up for that initially, because schools require professional development, they require curriculum alignment, and we did all of those things. And then with schools closing, nobody wanted to hear from us. So we made the decision to revert back to the model that we originally launched with, which was consumer based. And okay. And so that's more or less the journey since then.
Yeah, no, I can. So you essentially did the heavy lift to try to get yourselves in alignment, so you actually could do the professional development with the teachers and everything, and it just so happened to coincide with the pandemic. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yes. And then throughout that time too, we had developed quite a few different courses and kits that allowed us to create that roadmap that we're now offering to parents when they subscribe.
Of the 600 subscribers that you have right now, what's been the uptick? Was that the kind of thing where, did you see an immediate lift when you launched in 2020? Were some of these older subscribers? What's the percentage growth, I guess, between April and now? Yeah,
I would say a majority, about 50%, were previous customers. We did a survey and jumped on the phone with a few previous customers just to ask what they were facing right now, what some of their pain points were. And so we did that in conjunction with the referral program. So that brought in quite a few subscribers. We set up a few sequences through email, which also brought some more subscribers. And we then started playing around with paid acquisition on Facebook and Instagram. But we've done very, very little of that. We've been trying to be super grassroots about everything, and connecting with parents on forums, Facebook groups, Reddit, any homeschool co-ops. Mm-hmm. Really just been trying to connect there.
Yep. Okay. I don't want to monopolize the question, so I'm going
to. Oscar, this is Balaji. I have a couple of questions just to follow on with Allison. I have 2 kids, obviously went through some of the same challenges alluded to in terms of moving to distance learning. But one of the challenges I saw, and I'd love to see how you address this, is the consistency in how the projects get done and to the satisfaction of the child. Because many times if they're not successful and there's nobody there to guide them, the interest level tends to wane, which may contribute to the churn down the road. But not every parent is very well equipped to help kind of assemble these things on their own without constant live interaction. So I'd love to understand that, because I know we tried many things. I have two boys, 10 and 7. Some things stuck really well, others not so much. And so I'd love to understand what makes yours sticky and leads to success. Obviously, the more they do, the more success they get, the more affinity they have with your curriculum and products.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something I'm really, really focused on. One of the things I would say that has helped is, so sorry.
It was a good question.
Yeah, the dogs agree as well. I would say that, sorry, that threw me off for a little bit. That when someone first subscribes, we immediately have a coach reach out. So it's a very personal introduction that they receive up to when they'd like to sign up for live classes. We also do office hours outside of the build along classes. So if anyone's having any issues, there's the time there to troubleshoot, and those are usually small classes. I wouldn't even call them classes. It's a little less formal, where if someone is really frustrated or having an issue, then they can just shoot whatever questions they have. And then we also try to have a monthly contest for someone to participate in. It's usually around a particular challenge where they have to be creative using the parts that they already have. And that has really helped just generate excitement, because the kids are competing against each other, and they can come in first, second, or third place. They get a cool prize. In some cases, they'll get Xbox dollars, and then we'll promote them on our social media wall with parent permission. But I think all those things work together to really create that experience where, if they are frustrated or they're not interested, then we'll really try to find out what will get them excited. Or a lot of times it's because they can't figure out how to install the program. So knowing that's super important, because that's so easy to fix. But we do little things like that. And I try to stay involved at that level so that I can understand what their frustration is.
How many people are on the team to be able to provide some of that white glove onboarding of parents and students? I mean, it seems like the leverage model and the scale might be difficult in that way.
Yeah, right now it's 4 of us, and we have 3 student interns that are helping us with that. The main team is more focused on onboarding the customers, but then we'll have our student interns help us with that, and they'll also moderate some of the classes as well. So while the instructor is teaching, somebody will be in the chat rooms making sure that everybody has what they need, or if they have questions, and there's that added assistance.
Yeah, following Balaji, what I saw, sorry, I was going to say the interactivity is super important. And I guess the question for me is, what age group are you seeing that is engaging the most? I found with my 7-year-old, he would do nothing unless one of us was sitting sort of alongside him to encourage him and make sure he stayed on task. Otherwise, it was a bit of a lost cause. He's hyperactive kids, that's fine. But I imagine there is some similarity in terms of ages, and perhaps maybe you're seeing a slightly older population.
Yeah, I would see grades 7 through 9 are probably our sweet spot right now. We do get some younger kids, and parents do have to get involved at certain points, just because they either don't have the dexterity to manage some of the parts, or they're not familiar with computer software, like installing an Arduino program, for example. So we've set up some tutorials to help streamline it a little bit.
So just 2 more questions quickly, Oscar. One is on your go-to-market. How are you leveraging all the brands from an acquisition standpoint to reduce your CAC and maybe increase some of the top of funnel? And are you doing that at all?
We are. It started off by reaching out to people on Twitter, and I'm not really measuring how that's affecting our CAC, although I believe that's a really good thing I should be doing, because I do think when someone hears that someone from Nintendo is going to be talking to the kids, I'm sure that gets a parent excited or a kid excited as well. But that would be super interesting. That's maybe you could have some advice around that on how I could better manage that. But for sure,
Yeah, but you're not advertising or using those specific platforms or channels per se. You're not, in advertising on an app or within a console game or anything of that nature. You kind of be a sponsor or throw a coupon up there, any of that nature, to kind of draw from those audiences at all?
not yet, no. But I do think that could be that would help move the needle a little bit if we did that.
And secondly, the jump from 2020 to 2021 in terms of revenue seems to be a fairly aggressive jump. I'm curious as to who's going to help you drive that, and where do you see the mix for in terms of revenue contribution from either direct parents or through schools? And if it's schools, are you really serving K through 12 in a public and private scenario, or does it swing more towards private in terms of who actually has funding and is focused on filling gaps in curriculum in the distance learning space?
Yeah, definitely. The numbers are indeed aggressive. It was really more sitting down with my co-founder and really thinking about where we want to be as a company within the next few years. And the two of us have been working on this for a long time. So we're like, let's hammer this out, and what will it take to get there? And it was really just a matter of calculating the customer acquisition cost and multiplying that by the number of subscribers we'd like. But I do think to get there, we're going to need a larger team, especially on the customer support side, because I do think that's a really important part of the experience. For the schools, I do see us probably working more with public schools. During the 2 years that we did work with schools, most of our customers were public schools. We were able to tap into certain budgets. I would say the more prominent one was textbook money, because those usually are budgets that can afford online subscriptions. So, and then there's professional development as well, which usually can get bundled into that. Private schools, we tried that, but in my experience, the private schools didn't really need us. I don't know, maybe that's not true, or maybe I was just selling to the wrong private schools. My specific focus was public schools, just because I really wanted to get this into the hands of kids who normally don't have access to it. And I've heard arguments on both sides that schools can't afford this kind of thing, this kind of product. And I do think they can. I think it's just complicated by the relationship driving that you have to do to get to the top. And in some cases, even just have a trial with them so they can experience that product for the first time. But I do think that public schools is going to be the way to go, more at the district level, but we don't have experience with that yet.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Right, so I think we're coming to a close with the questions that we have for Oscar and Thimble. Great deck, great presentation. Thanks a lot, Oscar.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the feedback.
Absolutely. Next up, we've got Sean Torrington from Slay. Alex, if we're ready for Sean. Hi, Sean. You might want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Hello, everybody. Okay. Perfect. All right, so my name is Sean Torrington, and my company is Slay Media House. We are a multimedia platform that was started and funded by me and my husband, Terry Torrington. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to be here today. But first and foremost, we are filmmakers, we're storytellers, we are creatives, and we are culture. So Slay is a multimedia platform created for us, by us, and to connect, empower, and empower those of the Black LGBTQ experience. How do you go down? All right. So the problem is there's a lack of LGBTQ stories being told authentically in today's media. And there's a lack of jobs specifically for Black trans women because of transphobia. We created a central location where subscribers have the convenience to watch impactful LGBTQ content that is created and curated by us, which is Slay. We also build a media company and brand to uplift economically and empower communities of color. I know I am breezing through this. I'm a little nervous. Please excuse me. And first, I would like to talk about Slay TV, which is the premier destination for queer and trans entertainment. Slay TV is a digital queer and trans network. We elevate narratives by Black LGBTQ people through curating and producing compelling video content. So here was our promo. So back in 2016, we created an app, which was a third-party app because we didn't really want to produce content anymore for YouTube because like I said before, we are filmmakers and we created a couple of series on YouTube, which got a buzz. So from our first demo app, within 2 months, we had about 20K downloads because one, the app was free and we already had subscribers on YouTube. So what Terry did was he created his web series specifically that he wrote himself. We put the first episode on YouTube and we kindly asked everybody if you want to watch the rest of the series to download our free app, which basically they discovered our content and new content from other content creators because we literally tethered their content onto our app, which they were still getting their monetizations and they were still getting their viewership. But for some reason, we had to figure out a way now, how do we scale this out? So that was the mission. As you can see, we did have an app and then the web app. Here's a promo of what we
just pump the beat, 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 just pump the beat. This is gold. I'm screaming. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up now. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up now. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up now. Keep it up now. Keep it up. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up now. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up now. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up now. Keep it up now. Keep it up. Young God on the go. Make that money on a block on a bow. Let me make it hot. You just can't go. Backside on slip on your waist like so. Hold up.
Hey, Sean.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. I am here.
I am so sorry. Let me turn that off. My time is wasting.
Sean, we can't see any video.
Oh, you didn't see any video?
No.
We didn't know. We just heard the sound.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't know. So that was like a minute wasted. All right, so we have Slay Studio. We are directors that write, creators that are strategic, and writers that produce. We live to impact and inspire the entire LGBTQ community. So with Slay Studio, this is where we create our original content. We have equipment, and like I said, we are the directors, the writers, and the editors. This is literally our first Slay original, Love at First Night. This is the series that literally got us started with Slay. So this is like our first baby. So then we have Slay Agency, which is a full service strategic and creative agency. Most cases we work with brands to increase their diversity and inclusion initiative. So we say you don't want another Pepsi situation to happen. So we know how to talk to our demographics. So we create from conceptualization to create campaigns to production, to distribution, to post. We create experiences in digital and physical spaces. We do all our graphic design work, video production work, even to event installations. So then we have Slayfest, which is our annually arts and cultural festival, which consists of panel, concerts, screenings, and a party. We're gonna skip that because the time is running out. You can't see the video. So this is our ecosystem. So you have Slay, then you have Slay TV, which is basically our TV app, web app, mobile app, and then from our community on social media, because we do have a lot of followers, we have In Real Life, where we basically migrate people into giving them to something they can feel in touch, which is Slayfest, which is in turns turns into our screenings, our concerts, and panels. And then you have the Slay Agency, which we, like I told you earlier, which is our strategic creative agency. Why we exist. So we realized that there was a void in the market when it came to just Black LGBTQ content in general, in media. So we thought about it like this. We have the skills, we have the talent, we create culture. Why not start a network? So we think that our market is synonymous with the online media and music consumer searching for the cool. We are the cool. So adoption and growth. Based on our existing 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, we can be sure to migrate at least 10,000 of them to our VIA app subscriptions with new content that we will need to be able to create. So I would say our business model would be a monthly subscription base. There will be a paywall for subscription-based users, which would be considered premium content. And as for our freemium content, the revenue will basically be stemmed from our OTT advertisement on the video. So advertising revenue props up the most accessible internet content for users outside the prescription wall. I guess you can compare us to other platforms such as Black and Sexy TV, YouTube, Vimeo, Sling, Pluto, but our advantage here is, time ran out. I'm just gonna keep going. So our advantage here is our platform is specifically geared towards Black LGBTQ people. So our go-to-market growth, back in 2019, because our consulting work, we was able to acquire 200K. We expected in 2022 with the continuing of our agency to at least growth at least 2 million. As of 2020, with production work, we did 60K. Our physical event was Slayfest. We had 15,000 event guests. This was with our second year. The first year was about, 1,500. What else I forget now? The first year was about 600 people, but because people love Slayfest so much, and I wish you was able to see it, we was able to grow. And with our digital TV platform, through our mobile app, we only was able to get 20K. We wasn't able to keep growing because we do not have the ability to create content right now. So our team is me as founder CEO. Then we have Terry Torrington, which is our husband. He's our COO. And then we have James Felton Keith. He's a serial entrepreneur in fintech, insurtech, and ad tech. He is an amazing man. Terry is in charge of all things content and development, whether we're curating content or creating content, he oversees everything before it goes out. And stay cool with Slay. It's what you live for. C is for cool. And we're done. I'm sorry if I just breezed through that because I was just worried about the time.
Don't worry about it, Sean. I think you did a great job. Thank you for doing that. And can we start with, just go right in, Puda?
Do I have to stop it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'd say jump right in.
Yeah, jump right in. Thank you.
You did a great job, and I love the mission and focus. And congrats on your traction so far.
Thank
I
you.
think my first question is, so you're doing TV, studio, agency, festival. That's a lot to take on as like a relatively new small company. I'm curious, like, why you decided, to do all of those things, and also which, if anything, you would say is the initial focus.
Okay, so we first started off with the app, right? But the thing is, there really wasn't any real revenue coming in because we couldn't really go to market with it because we didn't have marketing dollars. So we said, okay, since we cannot really make money through just subscription-based models, because yes, we have our community that love what we do, but they can just do but so much. So I was like, what else do we have? We create. So why don't we just create content for other people so we can actually have revenue coming in? And we are great at developing concepts. So we just decided, let's start an agency. We didn't know exactly how that would go, but people actually loved what we did, and that actually worked out for us because we have such a great following that refers us to people. We were able to get a lot of leads from that. Then I decided to do Slayfest because we have such a presence on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram and Twitter. We interact with our audience. Like they seen us grow from like 2013. We was creating things on YouTube. They grew with me and Terry. So they actually just love to see us do things. So we even had our own couples YouTube at one point. But the thing is, long story short, we just wanted to give people something they could feel and touch aside from just being a digital platform. So that's why Slayfest existed, because there wasn't a platform for queer artists to actually perform on stage. And there's so many people that is out there just wanting to be seen. So we gave them the opportunity to perform and just like have their fans come and follow us. And then, there's a lot of short films and films that queer people are making and trans people are making all together. So we just said, why don't we just create our own Sundance and Afro punk and make them marry each other? And that's how Slayfest existed. And then, yeah, the studio is just where we want to go with the studio is now that we have Slay, okay, we have a network, but why shouldn't we pitch scripts to larger networks? And so that's where the studio came in, because we are looking to pitch to like Netflix and just to get the Slay agenda out.
Hey, John, this is Natalie. First of all, I just want to thank you for what you're doing. I'm really inspired by the representation that you're creating, and although I'm very white, I'm as part of the trans community. Like, I just think there's just not enough representation out there. So I really just want to, again, thank you and acknowledge the work you're doing. And in any way that I can help offline, I would love to help. But I look at this, and you answered some of the questions I was going to ask about sort of revenue and things like that. And I think Christina had a good question about like trying to do a lot of things. Like, it's almost like as an entrepreneur, you have to like really focus and do one thing really well and then grow from there. And I feel like you're kind of doing a lot of things. And I don't know, I haven't been able to look at the content or really get inside of it, but I would sort of wonder, like, what is the thing that like you could do really, really well and like nail that and really take it to the next level and let the brand follow from there? Because I think one of the things that entrepreneurs often do is they see too many things that they can do. Mm-hmm. They want to do them all because they're super passionate. And I struggled with this a lot. But I think if I were to give you any advice, I would say like pick the one thing that can make the most amount of money and make the bit and that may not be the thing that you want to do initially, but like that's going to be the thing that pulls the rest of it through. So I'm curious, I do have that as a question. Like, what if there was like one thing that you could take out of this to say like, that's the thing that, is COVID proof and is, all the thing proof that we have to, has to have its defense around it. Cause media is a really tough world right now. Like just in general, like content is like, wants to be free. And, to put monetization strategies around that could be really challenging. So that's my one question. And then I have a comment that I'd love to share.
So I would say right now, it would be our agency work. I only say that because that's has been the bulk of our money. We literally just finished working with HBO Max to promote Legendary through our micro and macro influencers. So that's been like a blessing. So I would say the HT right now, and it's not that I don't like it, because I just love that aspect, because we get to actually still create and still use our brains. So I think it will be the agency.
So that's interesting you say that. So both the company that I'm running right now and my previous company, we were building products. The whole time we were going to build products. Like, we always knew we were going to build products, because products scale and they're repeatable, and the contribution margins are much, much higher than services. But we always use the services to pay the bills. But then when you're doing that, you have to be hyper disciplined about, like, okay, we're going to service this client, we're going to make X amount of money, and then we're going to, pay ourselves, and then we're going to develop some product on the side. But you have to be really, really disciplined. It's probably one of the hardest things, I think, is to, do both of those things side by side, and unless you've raised a ton of venture capital or have really deep pockets, so that you can kind of do a lot more.
This is why I'm here.
So I just wanted to ask that question. And I think you know what, like, there's a certain demand that, that is on the uprise right now for, people of color and representation. And I think you should ride that, right? And if you can do that with your agency and use your agency to create content and make them pay for it, right? Like, that's a really interesting way to start to get the traction to be self-sufficient. Because the worst thing that could happen is that you kind of put yourself out of business by trying to do too much stuff. Exactly. And burning yourself out and burning out your business partners. So I would focus on becoming profitable with the consulting business, and then use that money, because honestly, like, you've got a niche, you've got like an IP sort of situation carved out that, unless someone takes you off you're going to be the only one that takes you off the field, is kind of what my point is. So I think it's a survival thing, like, stay on the field and, build it up, and then you'll have that one hit that just, takes it through the roof.
I totally agree with you. And that's the thing that we actually, 2020 was focusing on. We said, we're going to leave the app alone, because right now the app is down because we couldn't afford to keep it up. And we said, we're not going to focus on the app right now. We're not going to focus too much on pitching, but we're going to hone in on the agency. And I absolutely agree with you. That is the direction. I just want to just let you guys know exactly everything we're working on. But no, honestly, it is the agency.
Well, and when you're pitching too, you want to focus on the one thing that you want everybody to focus on.
Okay.
That's like, otherwise we're kind of like, whoa, you're trying to do too much. Okay. My only other thing, I'll let someone else go. And I just want, and this is going to be really unpopular. Like, so I'm just going to like put a disclaimer there that, like, I recognize that. And I also have a level of sensitivity around language that probably a lot of people don't have. I'm also white, and I'm not going to say that I have any sort of cultural understanding of the branding that in the way that, like, I understand what you're doing, but I would say, like, you should try to find, this is my opinion, right? But like, I just think the word slay is too violent, right? Like, I know what you're saying, but like, in this world where like everything, we're hypersensitive about language, like, I try not to say the word crush, like, we're not crushing it. I don't like to say we're slaying it. I don't like to say we're killing it, because people are dying, right? Like, people are getting killed. And like, unfortunately people are you use the word slay, but I understand what you're saying, but like, I think that the vision and the message is more important than the brand. Mm-hmm. And so I've had to like really deal with a lot of branding issues myself. And ultimately, your brand, the name, is not going to make your business. It's going to be the experience you create. And so my little tiny advice, take it or leave it, from a third party person that doesn't know anything, really, is, I think the name just resonates violence for me, and I just don't think that's what you're about.
No, I totally get it. I thought about that before we even called it Slay, because the first name wasn't Slay. And this was pre-Beyonce formation. And I was just like, I don't think I like Slay. Let's go with Life Network. And that was the network. That was the name. Then Beyonce came out with formation, and she was like, I slay. And my co-founder was like, that's it. Like, we should go with it. Everybody know what slay means. Let's do it. So that's how it happened, actually. But no, I thought about that. I really did.
I'll just pipe in and second this piece, which is for all of the venture-backed and self-funded startups that I've been a part of personally, the ones that actually were self-funded were the most successful. And they went through the same process that Natalie referred to in terms of leveraging your services and then pulling your profits out of the services to create your product. And it absolutely does require that discipline and knowledge that you're moving in the direction of building out a product-based company. Mm-hmm. But you use that self-funding. And the other piece is, if it sounds like you're actually making a decent amount of money actually with the agency, that is freedom. And, I know this is pitch practice, but you don't necessarily need to pitch anybody if you're actually really successful with the agency work. And then your future is in your hands, right? And so, it's great to go out and pursue the funding piece, but if you actually have a model that gets you to profitability, some of the most successful companies out there did so and grew their own businesses, without taking outside capital. And we don't hear about all those stories necessarily because it's cooler to go out and say you've got funding from, brand name VC. But the reality is your world is much more your oyster if you can do it on your own.
And I agree. I'm sorry. I just want to, I've thought about that in so many different ways. The initial thing, I was like, I would never do VC. However, when things start moving and then so many things we have to think about, it's like we don't have the manpower and we need help. So it's just like we can't pay people to do certain things, not everybody. So it's just like we need like more people on board. And I guess that to take on certain things. And I guess that's where
yeah, so Sean, just not to be a damper on everything you're doing, I think it's great, but typically media companies in general, regardless of where they're hitting, are difficult for many VCs to grok and understand because it's usually, it's hard for them to see consistency in revenue and be able to model this out and predict it. And I hear it over and over, having been in that world in my past. I'm curious, as a good to go to market in terms of finding some room to grow and getting scale, if you've thought about it or if you have partnerships with somebody like a Reverie who's out there building the larger umbrella, and maybe you can own a niche within that umbrella and kind of draft behind them as they're getting funding, as they're growing, and then own that niche underneath that and potentially have a strong partnership to get to scale. Then all of a sudden you have revenue, traction, all the above, and you become that company that people are like, shit, I should have invested in them when I had the chance.
No, right? Me and Damien, we were supposed to talk so many times. That's definitely a conversation I will have with him next time he's in New York.
Yeah, I would explore that because I know that they have a sales team in place. They have ad team in place. They're looking for content. They struck out on some good distribution deals. If you can supply a lot of the things that they can't hire for or have to teach people to understand, and you already have that innate knowledge and skill set, I think it's a huge win for both of you.
Agreed.
Right, guys, I think we're going to have to move on. I know we've had some great feedback from the judges and the panelists, Sean.
Thank you.
I can connect you with anyone you like following the session, but we do have one more company to get to. Thanks a lot for pitching and for your efforts. It's been fantastic.
Thank you again, Allison, Natalie, Christina, and I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your name? Balaji?
That works. Anything works. I've called everything.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Sean. Last but not least, we have Samar Jashtanani from Down to Dash.
Hi.
Hi there. How are you doing, Samar?
Thank you for having me here. I'm just going to share my screen.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So super excited to be here today. I'm Sama. I'm the co-founder Down to Dash. And Down to Dash is an AI activity curator to connect like-minded people. So my co-founder and I studied in the UK, and there were many times we wanted to play basketball and we needed more players, And there were many times I wanted to go for Zumba and I had no one to go for Zumba with. Also, I moved to New York alone 3 years ago, and I experienced how it can be moving to a new city without knowing anyone. So we created a solution to solve all these problems, and we realized that even if you have many friends, it can be difficult to meet people for specific activities. So we created an app to meet people based on activities. So DTD is an app that understands you. It knows what you like, it knows when you're available, and it knows your location preferences. For example, if you tell us you're free Friday evening in Midtown, our technology will automatically find 5 other people who are also free Friday evening in Midtown and suggest that, say, you go bowling together, or you go for a jog to Central Park together, or you do a virtual workout together right now, or whatever you have in common. You can also post a specific plan like play soccer on Thursday at 5 p.m. or play basketball and I need 2 more players. And you can group chat with users and also discover events around you. And we've introduced a number of virtual activities and experiences to cater to the new COVID normal. So users have actually, our numbers have really grown since COVID started in terms of users really need a platform to talk about how they feel, to connect with other people. People are craving social interaction now more than ever. And we've received feedback that people have also seen our platform as a tool, as a therapeutic tool for anxiety, depression, and just to connect with other people around them. And we do automatic scheduling, user generated activities, and we focus on quality matches through the app. So within a year and no marketing spend, primarily in New York, we have more than 6,400 users, 80,000 plus plans enabled. We also recently started monetizing the app. So this again was born, this aspect of the business was born in March when COVID started and the switch happened to virtual. We were approached by a company that said they were struggling to host happy hours for their employees because of the in-person to online switch. And now we have 3 B2B clients and a number of others in the pipeline. We're hosting virtual events for them and using our technology to connect employees to each other. So we actually make money from our marketing instead of spending money on our marketing. We have a parallel events company, which I was talking about. So we were running in-person events too in New York. And now we've pivoted to virtual events and we're hosting like maybe 4 or 5 virtual events a week. We do like virtual games night, small talk sucks, which is authentic relating. We do virtual karaoke nights. So through these events, all we have to do is, just put out a Zoom link and we get people and we talk about the app, we promote the app, and we've also been doing a lot of paid events. We have sponsors for our events. So that's the whole B2C aspect of the business. And then we have B2B clients now. So it's really great that we can have a parallel events company and generate revenue from it. And obviously, this is not a long-term strategy. We want to automate everything through the app and focus on the whole tech part of it in the future. We also have partnerships. So we do cross promotions with other companies, brands that have synergies so that, we get pull in users from other networks. And we have campus ambassadors, college students who help us with marketing. So as I mentioned, currently we're focused on the virtual activities to connect people and companies. We're going to integrate a booking fee within the app where we take a fee on every experience booked through DTD. We'll also introduce advertising and premium accounts for users with features like Passport. For example, if I'm going to college in LA and I'm in New York right now, I can schedule my activities and matches in advance by connecting with people in another location with premium account only and like event access only, discounted event access, all that in the premium features only, and also gather patterns in our data to provide guidance and predictive analysis to companies that deal with specific cohorts. Coming to the competitive landscape, the most similar existing platform is Meetup, but Meetup operates only in groups and users cannot post specific activities. There's Bumble, BFF, and Veena, but they operate for female friendships only, and they do not focus on specific activities, plans, and automatic scheduling. So because of our AI activity curator, plans feature quality matches and focus on user security, we have no identical competition, giving us first mover advantage. My co-founder and I have had experience in building businesses in the marketing and VC space, and our tech team has had 5 years of experience with big brands. We have some great advisors on board, serial entrepreneur, venture lawyer, VCs, and just people we thought who could strategically help us and give us advice in order to scale. We've been featured in some popular publications like Forbes and HuffPost. Last year, we did an equity crowdfunding campaign and raised almost 65K from our users, event partners, and other investors. And it was really great to see our users actually funding us and how much they believe in our mission. So that's about it. Happy to take any questions. And if any of you in the audience want to be a part of our app, our events, in terms of being a partner, a sponsor, client, or just interested in some comp tickets, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sama. Let's dive straight in with the questions.
Hi, Sama. This is Nat. Oh, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, Sama, this is Natalie. So, first of all, I think I saw you pitch a long time ago. I mean, relatively speaking, it seems like a long time ago, but it's great to see how it's evolving. So, good job. I'm just, I guess, I have some questions, but more I want to like make a comment that I think might be constructive, and then I'll let my questions will probably get asked by other people. But I just think that like what's happening right now with COVID and the opportunity that you have to potentially capitalize on a more virtual environment and the B2B sort of product, I would think you should lead with that. I think that's more interesting. I don't know if it's a separate product or it's something you almost create like its own entity, but it almost seems like the world where we're living in right now doesn't match up with the product that you're selling, and that was my first thought when you started pitching. I was like, oh my god, like this is like Down to Dash involves like me going to places with people, because I remembered the pitch, but I feel like you can almost really lead with this, because I just think it's really fascinating. I think very large enterprise companies are really struggling with their culture right now and helping people like connect and create senses of community and not do it in a forced way. And I feel like if there was some sort of scheduling system that was a little bit voluntary, that I could go and browse and see what other people from my company are doing, these virtual happy hours, like video game nights and karaoke and all the things that we can kind of do virtually. I just think that's like really interesting. I don't know of anything else that's like it out there. I'm sure there's versions of it that companies could kind of host and build internally. But I just think there's an opportunity there that, as the markets change, like I always see the biggest innovations are when there's market shifts. And there's certainly been a huge market shift here. And you've got a product, you've got some expertise, and it doesn't seem like you have to tweak it that much to kind of go after it, at least test it. So I would just even maybe just try testing your pitch, right? Like make the pitch about that and try it, right? You don't even have to change your product very much. Just next time you pitch a group of people, be like, we're called like Virtual Dash, I don't know. And, and just position it around that opportunity. I just think that would be interesting.
Thank you so much for the feedback. I really appreciate it. The only concern with us is our product right now is a bit of both, just because some people are really fed up of sitting at home. And, we have some people using the app, going to Central Park and social distancing, going for a jog, which is why also the thing is, people sometimes give us the feedback that they love our Zoom events, but they want a bit of both because they crave in-person interactions. And as things are opening up and people are being more cautious, but still kind of doing some activities, which is why we thought of keeping both. And, we don't know how things are going to pan out in the next few months. So we just thought of keeping both for now and then seeing where things go. But I agree with you, and I'm going to try to bring the B2B aspect of the business earlier in the pitch rather than later on.
Yeah, and I wasn't implying that you ditched the whole thing. I'm just sort of like, when you have these moments, these minutes with investors and you're trying to get their attention, like I would maybe lead with that. And then you could almost say at the end, and we've got this other version of it, right? That it's like, you don't have to, it's not binary. I didn't mean ditch it, but I just mean like in terms of your pitch, lead with it. And then, that's interesting to me to say, oh, there's another model, like the same commercialization strategy has got another model. That's okay. That's interesting to me. Anyways, that's just a little bit of feedback with, very little context. So, but great job.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, just building off of that, I totally agree with Natalie that you should emphasize that more. I do think it's also great that like you've been so nimble and that you adjusted to what's going on right now so quickly. So I think that could potentially be part of your narrative. Like, we started as this, we really quickly adjusted and started doing this. It's going really well. This is the focus right now and here's why. And that could be really powerful. But one question I had, a little actually more focused on the IRL side of things, you mentioned that you have a focus on user security, unlike some of your competitors. And that's something I was wondering about before you brought it up, since it sounds like some of these are like smaller groups of meetups where you also might be in a scenario where it's like awkward to leave because you've committed to this game, right? So we'd love to hear more about how you're thinking about user security and trust for those IRL meetups.
Sure, great question. And we actually get this question a lot from users too. So there are a couple of ways we're thinking about it. Firstly, we've integrated identity card verification and phone number verification in the app, which is basic level security. And one thing we're working on right now on the B2B side is closed networks within open networks. So with our clients, we're working on, for example, a venture university is a client. So how we can integrate their email address. So say I sign up as a VU student and I verify my profile through my email address, and then I can connect with VU students only. So it's like a closed network within an open network. So that's something we're working on right now in terms of security for college students and for corporates, like an email verification system.
Great answer, thank you.
We do have a question from an audience member. So how are you using the tech to connect employees together? They'd like to hear more details about that.
Sure. So right now the B2B focus is more the events than the tech. So we are on a monthly retainer and we have like a list of 12 events, a virtual retreat, a small talk sucks, which is authentic relating, virtual games night. Table topics like deep conversations. So for VU, we did an event where they were talking about VC related topics like AI and blockchain in one room. So it's really the events mainly, and the app, they can just connect with each other. And on the app side, like I said, we're building the closed network within the open networks too, but we haven't built that yet.
Right.
Sama, this is Balaji. I'm curious, you use the term AI in your app. Help me understand how the AI works, how much data you've had there to build a baseline, how accurate that is, and what's feeding that, and how you actually make that work.
Sure. So our tech team is integrating an algorithm that they developed and AI in order to curate activities on a weekly basis. So for example, say you tell us on Monday, we send out a form and every user fills their preference. So like if they're free Friday evening Soho or Thursday 4 p.m. in Chelsea. And then also when you sign up for the app, you enter your activities. So the AI and the algorithm matches people. So there are different layers to it. So for example, if 3 people are free Friday evening in Soho and they have, it'll calculate what they have in common. Like say it's a workout. So it'll suggest that they have a workout in common, and there are location suggestions. So it'll give you like Central Park or Battery Park. So like location suggestions, or like it'll say you can do it virtually given the new normal. And say there are 5 people that are not available, there are different circumstances we've created. So the tech will somehow find 5 people who are free approximately at the same time. Or if they're not free at the same time, they'll say, okay, we didn't find you a match at this time, but there's a match at this time. So
So it sounds more like a matching algorithm, more so than AI. I mean, it's not an NLP or deep learning per se. It's more akin to a matching algorithm. Is that fair to say?
So our tech team is trying to use AI to get smarter about the matches. So, study the users and study their patterns and just basically ask them for feedback, and based on their feedback, so like I said, it's quality and relevant matches that we're trying to do. So which is why we, through our equity crowdfunding that we raised, we invested a bit in the technology and how we can be smarter and do more relevant quality matches. That's something we're working on right now.
And so based on that, I'm curious, I mean, how accurate are your matches today? Is there a feedback loop by somebody saying, great to meet that person, but not really a match, or anything of that nature? How do you ensure some of those matches are highly accurate?
We actually haven't launched this feature yet, so I won't be able, but we're testing it out right now. It's still in testing phase. We started developing in the last few months, and we haven't launched it yet. So we don't have any feedback about it yet. We just started testing it last week.
Got it. Thank you so much.
We do have some positive comments as well from the audience saying, I need this. Meetup.com tends to be really flat and they need partners for a hackathon or a ski patrol, backcountry snowboard skills, etc., etc. A good job on your product.
Sure. Thank you so much. Check out the app. It's a free app, and I'll post a link to the events too in the chat.
Thank you. Right, so that winds up this session, everyone. Thank you so much for all of your time from the panelists and the judges, and also from 3 companies that participated. We really appreciate it, and a massive sort of expression of gratitude from Start Out and from myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Great job to the presenters.
Thank
You all.